you were nice enough to do our show when we were in our other studio with no audience. And here we are back in the main studio with an audience. How's that feel? I mean, that's good. Isn't that amazing? Doesn't it sound great?
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel, it feels right, right?
I mean, it must be just a sea change for you.
It was really, I mean, honestly, this is, right now we have 58 people and they sound, I told them earlier, they sound like Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, like, my God.
It's great.
And then also all the Zoom guests, which you're still probably doing, but it's like this changes everything.
Yeah, and people like you for coming into the studio means a world of difference to us. So thank you so much again for doing this. I appreciate it. I know we ask you a lot of favors. You're like, yeah, dude, I do have another job, but we always ask you to come. How are you doing? How's the city for you, New York City? I know you.
I mean, it just is. I just love it so much. I see something. You know, my life right now is pretty much the same as it was during the lockdown during late spring and summer. Just that I now get to be traveling through the city and walking through the city and going to work. Besides that, I really, you know, we order out for food. This is the most social life that I've had in, you know, since the last time I was here.
Yeah, really? You don't go out to restaurants?
No, not at all.
Oh, really? Not even.
We've tried a couple of times, you know, sitting but you know, we went to one, I remember, that was on an avenue, not on a street. And I was sitting there in this sort of plastic and, you know, wood thing.
Yeah, they build these huts like in the middle of the
street.
And
I was sitting there and getting drunk on sake, and I'd sort of look over my shoulder, and there'd be, you know, a big container truck coming, you know, about a foot past my head.
Yeah.
I just was like, I could not. And then also, with the new advent of, you know, in the last year, or about a year and a half, of e-bikes and e-scooters now.
I'm out.
Like, you walk out of one of those sheds where the restaurant is after all the sake. And there's a scooter going by with some kid going like 40.
It goes too fast. How was it like getting here tonight?
Well, I mean, we were coming down Broadway, and I was in the car coming down, and you were asking like about in New York, back in New York.
Yeah.
And you know, you just see something every day. I was coming, and I took a left off of Broadway on the 50th to come over here, and there was between 50th between, I guess it would have been 7th and 8th, Broadway and 8th. There was a club. It said Gentlemen's Club up at the top. It had a big vertical, you know, marquee.
Yeah.
And it said up at the top, Gentlemen's Club, and then down below it said Live Models. And then the name of the club was in huge block letters running down, called Mixed Emotions. And I thought,
that's the name.
What would that be for the strip club? Mixed emotions.
Club anything.
Yeah, mixed emotions.
Mixed emotions.
Yes, it's like a feeling of fun mixed with shame and regret.
What an odd name. What an odd name choice.
For your bachelor party.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Scores, but we ended up taking it to Mixed Emotions. That city's the greatest. But you shoot the show here in New York. What is it like filming something in New York?
It is so crazy.
As opposed to anywhere else in the world. You've shot so many films and TV shows.
You know, years ago, I shot a film with Robert Mitchum at the Utah State Penitentiary, which is a maximum security prison, but it's a huge complex, but it also has a minimum security section. And, you know, we'd go in and have to go through, you know, a battery of sort of security and so on and so forth. This is many, many, many years ago. And then we also had different convicts that were extras in the scenes. And then we'd all have lunch together, and actually our caterers would cater the lunch. And
you eat with the convicts?
Yeah, we'd eat with the different convicts that were extras in the scene. And you know, a film or television production company, when they film on location, it's like an invasion. I mean, they really, you get a permit to shoot where you're going to the block or the house or the wherever it is, the road, and you own that spot. I mean, you're showing up with trucks and campers and
lighting,
hundreds of people, and cables everywhere. I mean, you own that spot.
Yeah.
And shooting at the Utah State Penitentiary was the only place that I'd ever been filming where there was never a second where you thought that you owned that spot or that you were in charge in any way.
No, you're in a
you're
prison.
And it wasn't even really the administrators that felt like they were in charge. I mean, obviously it felt like the convicts are in charge of that territory. They're seated a certain, that space, and they're in charge.
Oh, yeah.
And it really felt like that. It really felt like we were guests. Every moment we were there, we were guests.
And do you talk?
That's what it's like shooting on location in New York. Exactly, actually. I mean, the city is very accommodating. They give us, tax breaks and everything else.
Yeah, well, you're great for the city.
Yes. But New Yorkers, it's so healthy. New Yorkers don't ever let you think for a moment that you're in charge. Ever. They
don't care, yeah. They go, yeah, get out of the way. This is my bus stop.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah, but we're filming a scene here. Like,
yeah, well, I'm
don't
going
care.
right over there.
I'm going over,
so
yeah.
I'm going over there.
I'm drinking my coffee.
So you stop filming and you let the person go over there,
I love this city so much. Do not change. Never change New York,
it's
please.
the greatest city. I mean, just the mix of idiosyncrasies just come together. I find, driving down here, I was looking at all the people on the street, and it's New Yorkers that make New York so wonderful. And you realize that as a group, I adore them. They're insufferable individually, but as a group, they're fantastic, because you mix all those idiosyncrasies and eccentricities together, and it makes this amazing stew,
Yeah.